Greetings, YouTube. Today we're taking a look at some polymer knives from Cold Steel. I picked these up at a pawn shop for a competitive price. They were roughly what they would have been, but I didn't have to pay shipping. So we'll take a look at this one first. This is a push dagger, and this is based on an actual pattern produced by Cold Steel in push daggers, and I think I may actually want to get one because this is really comfortable. I will give them kudos. They did an excellent job with this. We have a rubberized grip here. This whole thing's polymer. We get a lanyard hold here, though I don't really know if you really ever going to use a lanyard hole on a push dagger, but you know, maybe you do. And one of the things that fascinated me here is that it isn't just a copy. They didn't just copy it completely, because while they have the same profile as far as the pattern is concerned, the blade itself is drastically different. For example, this here is I believe in the knife itself, but this is a reinforced tip, while the edges here are very thin, but they're thin, then they open up. So this is kind of a diamond cross section in here, because this gives the blade more rigidity, but still penetration and slicing power if you actually have to go into a target. And let's be honest, the only target you're going to be going after this with this thing is going to be a person. So this is going to make the penetrating cut that you need to make far more likely to succeed, because you have the strength here and the cutting here. So I was very impressed by this. Not to mention, the overall quality is excellent. There's no extraneous burrs. Everything is nice and balanced and even. The molding they did was excellent. The deburring job they did, because they were almost guaranteed you there was flash on this. I work in molding, and I can tell you no part comes out of a machine without some kind of a problem you gotta look at. I don't know, I don't know what's under here, but it's just some kind of plastic crosspiece. I don't know how big it is, though. I don't know how much rubber is on there as opposed to how much of that is polymer crosspiece. I got no clue. Then we have this, which is, I believe, the Taipei pattern from Cold Steel, which is a pattern I have looked at for years, and I've always often thought, you know, would I like that knife? And guess what? I would like that knife, because holding this in my hand, I'm like, oh yeah, baby, that's a handful of dagger. That is a handful of dagger, because, well, the Taipei, the real one, could be used for cutting. This is just used for thrusting, and that's a lot of thrusting. Okay, the spread of my hands is from thumb tip to pinky is roughly 9 inches. Okay, that's a lot of thrusting. Really darn dangerous. And again, the same profile as the Taipei, but the blade is different. It is far thinner, but has a nice ridge all the way out to the tip to give it strength. You can see how it comes here, this nice spinal ridge like this. They didn't just copy the thing and call it good. They redesigned the blade to take into account that this is not a cutting tool anymore. This is strictly a stabbing tool, and we need to make it as rigid as possible because this material is far weaker than steel. Again, we get a rubberized grip here. Very comfortable. There were no sheaths with these. I just picked them off, literally off the shelf in the display cabinet, and I liked them. And again, a decent enough price that I didn't mind picking them up. I think it might have been $10 a piece, or $10 for this one, and maybe $15 for this one, which is competitive with the actual price of them, especially if you take shipping into account. And it was nice being able to actually hold them in my hand to see, yeah, do I want the thing or not? Your answer was yes. In fact, I do want this thing. So I really like these things. I really do, and it's made me want to get the actual knives that they are based on. I want this push dagger. I want the Taipei. The Taipei is not a cheap knife. I mean, it's a lot of knife. Don't get me wrong. That's a big chunk of steel if you're buying the real one. So I can't say that they aren't justified in asking for a good price for it. But it's not a cheap knife. At least not to me in my world. Now, one of the things I found really fascinating about these, there is not a single identifying mark on either of these weapons. Because make no mistake, these are not tools. These are weapons. And it has been my experience in the past, because I own quite a few cold steel tools, mostly of the impact variety, but I do own some knives, that they have never been shy about putting their names on things. And yet, they didn't put their names on these, because there is no way you can say a plausible deniability that we didn't know people were going to use them as weapons, because people are only purchasing them as weapons, unless they're like me, who is a collector of weapons. I make weapons as a hobby. Go to the link below to my DeviantArt page. You'll see what I do on the weekends. And I love weapons of all kinds. There's numerous weapons sitting on the table right now because I've been doing a number of reviews. But yeah, that made me smile when I realized that they didn't put any kind of markings on these. Because if they end up getting used, they want some degree of plausible deniability to say, oh, no. Those are counterfeits. We didn't make those. So maybe they keep themselves from being sued. Who knows? I don't know if it would work or not, but no markings, and that does fascinate me. So yeah, I really think these are worth your time. If you've been kind of debating, do I want the polymer tool that'll get right through a radar, rather not radar, get through a metal detector? Here you go. This is the tool that will get right through a metal detector. Won't get through a X-ray scan. This is going to show up on an X-ray scan. It's going to be ghosty shaped. It's not going to be as clearly defined as a steel tool would be or weapon would be, but it's still going to show up there. So, but if you would have to get like a metal detecting wand, never going to pick this up. Alrighty, folks. I got a phone call. I got to go. Thanks for being here. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you come back for the next one.